Part 88. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 871. Chapter 871. The Big Boss Never Shows Up. Rong Ci paused and looked at Yu Lingfeng with panic on his face. "You, what are you talking about?" Yu Lingfeng narrowed his eyes slightly. Interestingly, Rong Ci's expression was normal shock. Could it be that he didn't know about this, because it wasn't time for a showdown with Rong Ci yet, or was there something wrong with Yu Lingfeng's previous guess? But obviously everything is so natural and there can be no problem. What on earth are those people planning? Just a guess. Yu Lingfeng gave him a careless look, and then walked forward quickly, leaving Rong Ci with a blank expression where he was. What did Yu Lingfeng mean by what he just said? Does he know something? While eating, Rong Ci was distracted and looked up at Yu Lingfeng from time to time. If everyone hadn't known that Rong Ci had Sangyin and Yu Lingfeng had Xia Ying, they would have thought that these two people had some unspeakable friendship. After eating, Rong Ci finally couldn't hold it any longer and grabbed Yu Lingfeng again, taking him aside and asking, "What did you mean by that just now? What do you know?" Yu Lingfeng had already guessed that Rong Ci would talk to him alone. Looking at his panicked eyes, Yu Lingfeng just calmly put down Rong Ci's hand that was tightly holding his clothes. "I'm just guessing, don't get excited." "Do not get excited." Rong Ci almost cursed. Is this no small matter? Rong Ci has lived for more than 20 years and has never had any news about his biological father. Yu Lingfeng suddenly told him who was sleeping with whom and who was his biological father, and then only made a guess? Tell him not to get excited? How could he be calm about this kind of thing? Yu Lingfeng breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that the family affection of people on earth was indeed something he couldn't understand. Even if it never happened once in my growth, carrying the title of father can make a calm person become hysterical. Yu Lingfeng, if you know anything, tell me quickly and don't show off the superiority of these prophets in front of me. Calm down. Yu Lingfeng looked a little helpless. "I don't have enough evidence to prove this now, I just think it is very likely." "I thought you had already met him." "No." Rong Ci lowered his head. "They say that no one can see the true face of the master behind the shadow hunter. All that can be seen is a shadow. And I have never seen even a shadow of him." Yu Lingfeng frowned. The big boss never showed up. What kind of belief supported them to devote so much effort to this organization to die? Yu Lingfeng became more and more interested in this shadow hunter organization. "Since you said he might be my father, what are the chances that he is?" Rong Ci finally calmed down and asked. 90%. Yu Lingfeng answered quickly. Rong Ci's eyes widened. There was such a big possibility. "Rong Ci, don't do anything stupid just to verify this. That organization is very dangerous. Just take it one step at a time and don't fall too deep." Rong Ci looked like a man who had lost 3 souls and 7 souls. Yu Lingfeng thought of something and quickly reminded him. Rong Ci nodded numbly and left. Yu Lingfeng didn't know whether he listened to what he said. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 872. Chapter 872. How did she do it? Woah, help me. As soon as Rong Ci came to the living room, he heard Chu Shenxiu screaming for help. Not only that, everyone in the living room was running around and hiding. It looked so funny. Rong Ci took a closer look and discovered that there were many strange-looking flesh worms with sinister eyes crawling on the floor. They were a new species that he had never seen before. Rong Ci was still dazed. Xia Ying, who had just come out of the bathroom, saw this scene. She calmly stretched out her hand and said to her goo insect bracelet, "Go quickly." Then, Rong Ci saw 8 small silver bugs flying out of the small bell of Xia Ying's goo bug bracelet. Their eyes were glowing with a faint green light, and they looked so gloomy and cold that no one dared to look further. Then, everyone saw that Xia Ying's little flying insects had successfully driven away the unfriendly large flesh insects on the ground. Those big meat bugs all retreated and moved in the same direction. Rong Si understood at a glance that they were caused by Fanyan, and the bugs were also caused by Fanyan. I'm sorry that I frightened you. Rong Si bowed slightly to everyone, then walked towards Fanyan's room with a straight face. Before leaving, Rong Si glanced at Xia Ying meaningfully. At this moment, Xia Ying's goo insects lined up and flew back to the bell in an orderly manner. Xia Ying met Rong Si's gaze and remained calm. Rong Si knew for the first time that the strange-looking bell on Xia Ying's hand actually had this function. It was also the first time that Rong Si knew that Xia Ying could actually do witchcraft. Damn it, that Sanskrit sound is trying to kill us. Chu Sensio complained, the scene just now is still vivid in his mind. What on earth just happened? Xia Ying walked towards the crowd and asked. She just went to the restroom and saw a scene like this when she came back. Well, how do we know that that person was unhappy and suddenly released bugs to drive us away? Chu Sensio said, patting his frightened little chest. Xia Ying looked at Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng had not done anything just now. He was just quietly watching the crowd at a loss, frowning, as if thinking about something. Xia Ying approached Yu Lingfeng and asked, Yu Lingfeng, what are you thinking about? Yu Lingfeng touched his chin and continued, I was wondering how many goo worms were on the witch's hands. Xia Ying was stunned for a moment, is this question important? Certainly. Yu Lingfeng continued, his face a little more serious at this moment, training goo insects will have a certain impact on the goo master. The more powerful the goo insect is, the more effort it requires from the goo master. But clearly before, Fanyan I have already killed the most powerful goo worms, and she can't keep more than 2 goo worms at most. However, just now, she released 8 more. Although they don't look big, they are big. All of them are highly poisonous. Logically speaking, this is unlikely to happen. Many goo masters will never be able to train a few effective goo insects in their lifetime. Most of them are juniors like ants, but Fanyan's goo insects, none of them should be underestimated. How did she do it? Xia Ying also felt that there was something fishy about this matter after hearing Yu Lingfeng's analysis. At this moment, Rong Si is blaming Sanskrit. When Rong Si first entered, Fanyan was still hiding under the table like a child who had done something wrong. When he saw Rong Si coming over, he lowered his head and did not dare to look at him. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 873. Chapter 873, I won't be able to return to China for a while. Fanyan, didn't I tell you, they are all my friends, why do you want to use poisonous insects to harm them? Rong Si's tone was somewhat unpleasant because of his anger. Fanyan trembled and huddled up in a ball, with a pair of aggrieved and helpless eyes wandering on the ground, not daring to raise his head to look at Rong Si. Her lips were bitten and turned white, and she didn't say a word. If you are so willful again in the future, I won't care about you. Of course Rong Si was just trying to scare her. Rong Si knew better than anyone how powerful Fanyan's poisonous insects were, so he didn't want her to use those dangerous insects to hurt innocent people without authorization. If one day she commits some unforgivable sin again, how can he protect her? Police officer Song had been chasing her originally. In order to protect her, Rong Si delayed returning to China and did not reveal any information about Sanskrit to Officer Song. As soon as she made a move, everything would be revealed. Who would have thought that when Fanyan heard Rong Si's words I don't care about you, she buried her head and cried sadly, her body trembling, and she looked extremely pitiful. Rongsi's heart softened immediately. He was reluctant to really ignore her. He was just trying to scare her into obedience, but Fanyan took it seriously. And I thought Rongsi really didn't want to care about her anymore. Rongsi walked towards her, squatted down, his tone suddenly softened, and his expression was no longer as harsh as before. Okay, as long as you obey, I won't ignore you. Rongsi reached out and touched Fanyan's head. The Sanskrit sound is still whimpering in a low voice, but it has obviously softened. Rongsi felt very uncomfortable when he saw Fanyan's appearance. He didn't know what Fanyan was thinking now. In fact, she was not very willing to communicate with him more. There were many things Rongsi wanted to know that she wouldn't say. Most of the communication is just ordinary things in life. It's irrelevant, and it doesn't allow Rongsi to truly understand Fanyan. If you don't understand her, you don't know how to help her. Rongsi wants her to recover from the pain of the past. She cannot live in this attitude all her life. Rongsi wanted her to live well and be happy every day. When Rongsi came to the living room again, everyone was already preparing to leave. I'm sorry, Fanyan, I'm really sorry for causing you any trouble today. It's okay, we can understand. Xia Ying said, glancing in the direction of Fanyan's room, but she still didn't come out. Still dare not see these people. Then, keep in touch at any time and contact me directly if you need anything. As Rongsi spoke, everyone nodded in agreement and left. On the road, Chu Shenxiu had been playing games mindlessly, and 11 Ju had been looking out the window, as if thinking about something disturbing, with his brows furrowed and never relaxed. Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying were still discussing the matter of Fanyan. Police officer Song probably doesn't know about Sanskrit yet, right? Fanyan is now a wanted criminal in China and is linked to several lives. It seems that Rongsi will not be able to return to China for a while. Yu Lingfeng nodded. How could police officer Song know about it? Police officer Song is a good public servant of the people. If he knew Fanyan's whereabouts, he would be chased by handcuffs from all corners of the world. Xia Ying sighed lowly and said no more. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 874. Chapter 874. Your dad and I are the only ones in the whole family who don't know. The news that Hanzija and Mu Niankai were reunited was heard by Han's parents through the servants' lunch gossip. No wonder Han's parents feel that Han 11 is in a particularly good mood recently, and he can hum a few tunes and sing at home from time to time. This is a rare thing for the tone-deaf Hanzija, who has not encountered it in several years. Moreover, Hanzija ran out every 2 days. When he went out, he was in a good mood, and when he came back, he was in an even better mood. Naturally, Han's father and mother had seen some clues. Since the last time they forced Hanzija to be with that rich lady, and asked them to get engaged as soon as possible and get married after graduation, it has been a long time since Hanzija no more smiling faces. Every time I raise my face, I don't look at them very much. With this sudden change, if nothing happened, I wouldn't believe it even if I beat them to death. So, one noon, Hanzija was blocked in the living room by his father and mother. Dad, Mom, what are you doing? I have something else to do. Hanzija said while looking up at the clock on the wall. Looking at the postures of these two people, it was obvious for a while that he couldn't walk. Zija, tell me honestly, what is going on? Dad, Han said seriously. It's not that they don't want Hanzija and Mu Niankai to be together, but Hanzija actually hides it and doesn't tell them. Moreover, if they had known about this earlier, would they still have needed to arrange a girl from that family for Hanzija? The Mu family's power is much stronger than that family. Moreover, Hanzija likes him too, so they don't have to make mistakes with him. But the fact that he has staged such a drama at this juncture really gives Han's parents a headache. Everything has been prepared over there, and the engagement arrangements and other arrangements are already on the way. How can they explain this to the other side? What are you telling me? Hanzija was confused by their questions. He hadn't made any mistakes recently, right? What was his father's plan to intimidate and induce him? What's going on with you and Nianchi? Why are you pretending to be so stupid? The whole family, except your father and I, don't know. Are you deliberately angry with us? Han's mother's tone was a little fierce, and Hanzija suddenly realized. However, compared to his parents' words and behavior, Hanzija was much calmer. Hanzija just shrugged and said nonchalantly, "So, what do you want to do? You think the Mu family is more powerful, and you want me to cancel the engagement with that lady and marry the Mu family." Although Hanzija said this in a playful tone, the look on his face was so dismissive. You. Dad Han was stunned by Hanzija's anger. He knew that Hanzija was deliberately setting up such a show for them to embarrass them. I'd like to remind you again, don't make your wishful thinking too easy. It's absolutely impossible for someone like Mu Niankai to accept your manipulation and get married as soon as she graduates. Hanzija stood up and spoke slowly. What are you talking about, Hanzija? Is this the way you talk to your parents? Han Ma scolded angrily. Hanzija just curled his lips and showed a vaguely bitter smile. I'm just reminding you that not all capitalist parents will take advantage of their children in this way. Hanzija turned around and left as he spoke. He knew that if he stayed any longer, the slap raised by Father Han would fall on him. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 875. Chapter 875. Are you shameless, Mu Niankai? This traitor is really going to me off. These were the last words Hanzija heard from his father in front of the door. Compared to Mu Niankai's parents, Hanzija felt that the only merit of his parents was that they gave birth to him. Hanzija was raised by his grandmother before middle school. Later, his grandmother passed away, and Hanzija went to school with his parents. However, they were both very busy with work and did not really fulfill their responsibilities as parents. Hanzija doesn't have much passionate and inseparable feelings for his parents. But Mu Niankai is different. The little daughter of the Mu family has always been cared for and grown up. Those who want wind and rain will never know what it is like to live a miserable life. Her parents also loved her in every possible way and were reluctant to let her suffer any injustice. This is why Mu Niankai has such a bad temper and is so arrogant. She was spoiled. Mu Niankai was currently waiting for Hanzija's arrival at the agreed place. Mu Niankai scrolled through Weibo boredly, and then sent another text message to Hanzija. Hanzija, you are already 3 minutes late. If you don't come and I'll leave. Hanzija is a boy. Does it matter if he is late for a date? However, this was Hanzija's first date late. Could it be that something really delayed him? Something happened. I'm on the way, I'll be there soon, sorry. Hanzija replied instantly. Mu Niankai curled her lips, slightly displeased, and replied, you're not helping the old lady cross the road, are you? Hanzija smiled lightly when he saw the reply, and the negative emotions he had just squeezed quickly eased. No, it will be there soon, please wait for me for a while. Mu Niankai was still typing the word OK when suddenly someone sat down across from her. Mu Niankai raised her head and glanced at the girl opposite. The girl was wearing an off-white high-end dress, all endorsed by big brands. Her bag was the latest seasonal style, and the shoes on her feet were also global limited editions, not to mention the millions of jewelry she was wearing. The girl has exquisite makeup and hair, her facial features are pretty, and she exudes a ladylike atmosphere. Mu Niankai raised her eyebrows and suddenly became interested when she saw the girl staring at him angrily. It seems interesting. Is this woman here to provoke her? Sorry, this seat is occupied. Mu Niankai spoke calmly, with a smile on her lips, and glanced at the girl. Who? The girl had a strong face and looked disapproving. It seemed that he was going to fight with Muniankai to the end, but what Muniankai liked most was to argue with others. My boyfriend, what's wrong, do you need to ask more clearly? Muniankai looked at the girl with a half smile and said. You are so shameless Muniankai, Hanzaja is obviously my fiancé, and we will be engaged soon, but you vixen, you actually seduced him behind my back. The girl deliberately raised her voice so that people around her could hear her. Sure enough, her little plan worked. Suddenly, everyone looked at Muniankai. Muniankai is not an unfamiliar name in the imperial capital. After all, who knows about the daughter of the Mu family? Muniankai's bad temper is well known to everyone in the imperial capital, and now she is being exposed as stealing someone else's fiancé. Everyone smelled a strong smell of gossip. Muniankai was calm at the scene and showed a typical ladylike smile very elegantly. It all depends on your mouth, right? You said you are getting engaged? Where are the engagement rings? Now just go and grab a few on the street. Girls all say that Hanzaja is her future husband. If you dream about it, it's best to do it at night. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 876. Chapter 876. The engagement ceremony has been cancelled. What are you talking about? If you don't believe it, go ask Hanzaja yourself if this is the case. The girl rarely quarreled with others, so she couldn't win against Muniankai at all. Her tutor had always taught her to be well educated, polite, and elegant, but this time she really couldn't stand it anymore. Hanzaja hasn't contacted her for a long time. Every time she called him, she didn't answer her phone calls, and she didn't reply to her messages. She didn't look like someone who was about to get engaged to her and would stay with her for the rest of her life. However, she herself liked Hanzaja very much and she went crazy with her, as if she would never marry him unless she was in this life. So I couldn't stand that Hanzaja was about to get engaged to me, and he was still having with her outside. Of course, she has always known about Hanzaja's peeing and that he likes to have girlfriends. So when she sent someone to follow Hanzaja and found out about Muniankai's existence, she didn't take it to heart at first. She thought that even though she was engaged, none of these Yingyingyans could compare with her. However, she gradually realized that she was wrong. Judging from the photos secretly taken by the people he sent there, Hanzaja smiled so happily when he and Muniankai were together. It didn't look like pandering at all, and it was completely different from his previous attitude towards his girlfriend. She was really panicked and felt a sense of crisis, so she chased her here. She wants to completely kill Muniankai's rotten peach blossom. Hanzaja belongs to her alone and is her fiancé. All of this cannot be denied. Fanjiyi, have you had enough trouble? At this time, a cold male voice came over. Muniankai looked behind Fanjiyi and saw Hanzaja with an angry face. Hanzaja gritted his teeth and stared at his so-called fiancé who came to make trouble. In fact, he had just arrived and didn't hear what they were talking about. However, Fanjiyi came to find Muniankai, and there must be something bad going on. Hanzaja decided to take Muniankai's side without even thinking about it. Fanjiyi did not expect that Hanzaja would suddenly appear behind her, and stared at Hanzaja in a panic. Zaja, you are here. Get out of here. In a non-negotiable tone, Hanzaja treated her without any emotion at all. Why, rabbits can bite people when they are crazy. What's more, the person in front of her is obviously her fiancé, but she is helping another bad guy to bully her. Fanjiyi can't swallow her breath. Hanzaja, I am your fiancé. I am your fiancé who will hold an engagement ceremony in a few days. Do you give me any respect for this? Fanjiyi's eye circles were already red, and her eyes were full of tears when she looked at Hanzija. I will not get engaged to you, and please stop interfering in my life. The two of us will never default on each other from now on. Hanzija said to Fanjiyi with a straight face. He lowered his hand and held Muniankai's hand beside him. Such an action deeply burned Fanjiyi's eyes. Impossible, this is impossible, obviously. If you don't believe it, go back and ask your parents. The engagement has been cancelled. Hanzija said with a cold face. Fanjiyi was still looking nervous, unable to believe what she heard in her ears. The engagement has been called off. She was so excited about the wedding ceremony, but it was cancelled without her knowledge. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 877. Chapter 877 Your parents are too inhuman. Fanjiyi ran away in tears amid the various looks of sympathy or contempt from everyone. As soon as Fanjiyi left, Hanzija sat down opposite Muniankai and said sorry in a low voice, not daring to look at Muniankai's face. Because he had never told Muniankai about the existence of Fanjiyi, and he was suddenly in trouble today, I believe Muniankai was also confused at first. Sure enough, Muniankai rolled her eyes first, and then said in a sinister tone, our young Master Han is really amazing. Not only does he have a lot of girlfriends, but now he also has a fiancée. Hey, let me say, Han 11J, are your bones itchy? Hanzija drew back his neck timidly, I'm going to settle this matter myself. Muniankai had a straight face and looked very unhappy, so, your parents really found such a fiancé for you? Hanzija nodded honestly. You're not even going to tell me about this, Muniankai found it unbelievable, how are you going to settle it? It's not that simple to cancel an engagement. Is what Hanzija just said true, or is he just lying to Fanjiyi? My parents forced me to arrange for such a person before we were together. Now that we are together, they can no longer force me to get engaged to that Fanjiyi. Hanzija said truthfully. Muniankai pondered Hanzija's words for a long time before she gradually realized what she was saying. Then Muniankai rolled her eyes and said angrily, it's because your parents have found you a daughter-in-law according to their standards. Is it different for me? In their view, it doesn't matter whether they like someone or not, as long as they are a good match. Muniankai looked at Hanzija, who had a sad face when he said this. She was secretly moved in her heart and felt that Hanzija was indeed a little pitiful. Your parents are too. Muniankai paused mid-sentence. Not human. Hanzija continued the second half of the sentence, and then showed a bitter smile, which made Muniankai feel a little uncomfortable. Well, it's a shame that my family has a lot of money, otherwise we wouldn't be worthy of our superior young Master Han. Muniankai crossed her arms and mocked. Hanzija shook his head and smiled, letting Muniankai tease him. While still eating, Hanzija received a text message from Han's mother, Zija, please find time to bring Nian Chi back for dinner. What are you looking at? Muniankai looked at Hanzija's movements and asked smoothly. My mother wants to invite you to my house for dinner. Muniankai paused while eating, then her eyes brightened, and she agreed without hesitation, okay, by the way, I really like the food cooked by your chef, it's super delicious. Hanzija smiled lightly and said, are you really willing to go back with me? What if? Muniankai curled her lips, it's not like I haven't been there before after all, they are also your parents, can I still avoid them? Hanzija smiled even more heartily, why did I just realize now that your emotional intelligence is actually not that low? He thought that Muniankai would not be willing to meet his parents who were as powerful as him due to his jealous temper. It turns out that the reason why they were so kind to Muniankai before was not because Muniankai was their son's girlfriend, but because they just wanted to curry favor with this cash cow. Muniankai snorted and said, when has my emotional intelligence been low? Don't underestimate me, Okay. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 878. Chapter 878, You girl murdered your husband. Hanzaja just looked at Muniankai and smiled without saying anything, his eyes filled with tenderness. Let's go. Muniankai suddenly stood up, with a relaxed and indifferent smile on her lips, and said to Hanzaja. Hanzaja was stunned. Let's go? Where are we going? Didn't you say that your mother wants to invite me to your house for dinner? It's better to choose a different day, so today is the day. Then this restaurant has been booked. Just don't do it. Muniankai looked indifferent. Oh well. Hanzaja immediately followed Muniankai and smiled, then I'll tell her and ask the cook at home to prepare it early. Hey, I want to eat braised lion's head and sweet and sour pork ribs. Muniankai started to swallow her saliva silently just by saying the name of this dish. Hanzaja squinted and smiled, reaching out and gently touching Muniankai's forehead. Okay, what else do you want to eat? I'll tell them together. There are also braised small yellow croaker, wolfberry black chicken soup. Muniankai counted on her fingers, and the glutton in her stomach was cooed by her. Hanzaja entered the corresponding dish name on his mobile phone while listening to Muniankai's words. Hey, wait, Hanzaja, will this make me look particularly good at eating? Muniankai suddenly said something weakly. She had ordered so much food by herself, and the others hadn't opened their mouths yet. Hanzaja glanced at Muniankai lightly and said mockingly, You can eat it, why do you need to show off? Muniankai rolled her eyes at Hanzaja, reached out and pinched Hanzaja's arm. Hanzaja screamed in pain, then covered the pinched area and said to Muniankai, You girl, murdering your husband. Muniankai was stunned for a moment, and then her face turned redder and redder. You, what are you talking about, you stinking scoundrel? It was rare for Hanzaja to see Muniankai blush in front of him, as if he was seeing a shooting star. He was so happy that his eyes almost stopped laughing. It's rare for our eldest daughter Mu to be so shy. If you keep talking, I will ignore you. Muniankai didn't know why, but she actually said the kind of catchphrase that she looked down on most about girls in love before. Ignore you, this sentence itself is ridiculously childish, and it can only be used coquettishly between people who are close to each other. As for Muniankai, she disdains acting coquettishly, she is not that kind of girl. But now, she felt like she had become hypocritical. Falling in love is such a terrible thing. When Han's parents and Han's mother learned that Muniankai was coming soon, they immediately ordered the chef to start preparing the food. Naturally, they all decided on the recipes sent by Hanzaja one by one. The servants of the Han family are also in high spirits. In short, they just cannot leave a bad impression on the future young mistress. Not only Muniankai, but also Hanzaja himself was shocked by the inexplicable orderliness and consistent angle of his smile when he entered the house. This, what's going on? Before they could react, 2 rows of servants were arranged from tall to short until they reached a place where Hanzaja couldn't even see where they were. Then, they all bent down, bowed a full 90 degrees towards Muniankai and Hanzaja, and said in unison, Hello, Miss Mu, hello, Master. Hanzaja and Muniankai instinctively took 2 steps back. Hanzaja wondered if he had entered the wrong house. However, they actually put him at the back when they said hello. This seemed to be his parents' idea. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 879. Chapter 879. Do you like Muniankai or the Mu family? Muniankai opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but was interrupted by a sudden and enthusiastic voice. Nian Chi. After the unusually long and frustrating sound sounded at the end, a middle-aged woman appeared in front of Muniankai. Mother Han ran directly to Muniankai, took Muniankai's hand very familiarly, and then said to Muniankai like a loving mother, "Niankai, Auntie has given you everything you want to eat. When you're ready, you can ask Auntie if you have any other requests." Father Han was more reserved than Mother Han. When Mother Han kept courting Muniankai, Father Han just stood aside and watched, his eyes neither salty nor indifferent, just falling on Muniankai. When he looked at Chi, his gaze was a little deeper than others. Hanzija stood on the side holding his forehead helplessly. Although he also guessed that his parents would do something irrational, Hanzija never imagined that they would be so irrational. Muniankai just came home to have a meal, and their attitude made Muniankai feel like a bodhisattva had appeared, and she wanted to be worshipped on the altar of her home. Muniankai smiled awkwardly, and then gave Hanzija a wink. Why did Muniankai feel like she was in a wolf's den? It wasn't the first time she came to eat. The Han family was too. Let's mobilize the troops. Hanzija seemed helpless and could only take one step at a time. While eating, Muniankai felt that everyone was staring at her, not only Father and Mother Han, but also the idle servants of the Han family, who were all watching her every move while eating. Muniankai swallowed silently, moved uncomfortably, and looked at Mother Han. Seeing that Muniankai suddenly put down her chopsticks and stopped eating, Mother Han thought the food was not to her taste, so she asked Muniankai with concern, "What's wrong? Which dish is not to your taste?" "No." Muniankai shook her head melancholy, and then said sincerely, "Uncle and Aunt, I have accepted your thoughts, but you are suddenly so enthusiastic towards me, which makes me a little uncomfortable." "Forward." Han's mother was stunned and looked at Han's father. Actually, Father Han also thought it was a bit much, but he didn't dare to say more, so he had to follow Mother Han's wishes. Hanzija continued, "Dad, Mom, I know you are happy that Nian Chi and I have reconciled. You also hope that we can get to the end, but you really don't need to make it so grand. You look like this, well, it's hard for Nian Chi to resist." Father and Mother Han heard this and looked at Muniankai. Muniankai gave an awkward smile and nodded. Mother Han pouted, then walked to Muniankai's side, leaned down and hugged Muniankai's neck affectionately, and said to herself, "But I just like this girl, I like her, and I want to be good to her. Yes, is this not possible?" Hanzija didn't know whether her mother's love was true or false. Whether she really liked Muniankai or the Mu family behind Muniankai. Muniankai naturally understood Hanzija's expression, so she did not respond to Mother Han until Mother Han let go of her hand and said to Muniankai, "Then I will let them all leave, and you can have a good meal." With that said, Mother Han waved to the servants on the side and sent them away. Only Father Han, Mother Han, Hanzija, and Muniankai were left in the restaurant. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 880. Chapter 880. The Han family makes her feel depressed. After eating, Mother Han took Muniankai to the side to chat again. The content of the chat was nothing more than how her relationship with Hanzija was now and whether it was stable or not. These superficial questions were nothing, and Muniankai answered them one by one. Hanzija has been sitting aside, listening to their conversation silently. He was just afraid that his mother would say something inappropriate if she got excited, so he was listening on the sidelines. It was only later that Mother Han's face suddenly darkened. Muniankai also clearly noticed the sudden change in Mother Han's aura. Muniankai also tightened the string in her heart. She knew that Mother Han was definitely going to use her trump card. "Nian Chi, when do you and Arzija plan to get engaged and get married?" Mother Han asked cautiously. Because Hanzija said before that Muniankai grew up pampered, Mu's parents and Mu's mother have no requirements at all for Muniankai's other half, as long as Muniankai likes her. In other words, Even if Muniankai is with Hanzija now, it is not so safe. What if we break up again in the future? Then didn't they just pick up the watermelon and lose the sesame seeds? By then, nothing had been caught. Muniankai was completely unprepared to be asked this question. They had only been together for a long time, and his mother was so anxious to get them engaged and married. This idea really scared Muniankai. Hanzija had been listening to their conversation with his ears open. After Han's mother finished asking this question, Hanzija immediately spoke and said slightly angrily, "Mom, what question are you asking?" Mother Han curled her lips and looked aggrieved. "I care about you, so I want you to settle down as soon as possible." Hanzija knew it well in his heart, but in front of Muniankai, he still left a trace of face for her and did not reveal it. Rather than caring, it was clearly because he was afraid that Muniankai would fly away, so he wanted to tie her up with a ceremony such as engagement and marriage. Hanzija's face darkened, he sighed slightly, and then said, "Mom, Nian Chi is still young, and she will definitely do music for a few years after graduation. There is absolutely no need for you to ask this question now." Muniankai looked at Hanzija, saw the abnormality in his face, and echoed, "Hanzija is right, Auntie, you really don't have to be so anxious. Because of this matter, I haven't done it at all. I've thought about it, and when the time comes, it won't be too late." Although Mother Han responded with a smile on her face, she felt worried in her heart. This young love is the most unserious thing to do, especially if it is not for the purpose of marriage. Mother Han feels that this marriage is very suspenseful. She can't just put her eggs in one basket. If Muniankai and Hanzija die by then they will fall short. So, Mother Han secretly poked at her and began to think of countermeasures. Muniankai felt much relieved after leaving the Han family. The Han family was too depressing for her now. She felt that she and Hanzija were just an ordinary couple, but everyone in the Han family looked at her. It was as if she was already the young mistress of the Han family. Muniankai felt that her every move was restricted. Fortunately, she was on her way home now. Hanzija personally drove Muniankai back. Along the way, Hanzija also comforted Muniankai and told her not to take his parents' words to heart, and that he would not put any pressure on her. End of this chapter.